Very good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to all the esteemed colleagues who have joined us today in this very important meeting. This is a momentous day in the making of India's next science, technology, and innovation policy. This policy aims to re energize our scientific ecosystem, redefine the priorities and sectoral focus to directly translate our efforts in science and technology to benefit our society and the economy. We would like to make this truly an inclusive policy in all its aspects. Each and every state should become an equal partner and should gain shared ownership and responsibility in not only making of this policy but also in implementing them with full vigor. India is a diverse country with each state having unique strengths, challenges, and opportunities for growth. Science and technology innovation can act as the unifying force that aids in overcoming these challenges and concerns. The current pandemic stands witness to the immediate need for indigenous STI development and growth that can be achieved through harmonized center state relationships based on the ideals of cooperative federalism, center state cooperation, thus remains at the heart of building a truly Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is the dream of our Honorable and dear Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. In light of this, today's consultation is a step forward in building greater synergy between the center and the states and also among the states. This meeting looks forward to deliberating the processes that would bolster their interconnectedness. To empower the STI ecosystem, there is a need to strengthen institutional linkages and joint funding systems. State science and technology councils must be reinvigorated as they remain crucial in achieving these goals. After independence, science and technology became a major focus area for the nation building process. Four national policies: Science Policy Resolution 1958, Technology Policy Statement 1983, Science and Technology Policy 2003, and Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2013 in the area of science and technology are the milestones in the evolution of Indian STI ecosystem. The past few years have witnessed accelerated national growth in science, technology, and innovation sector, placing India as a global STI leader. There has been a significant rise in the country's performance in terms of number of publications, patents, and quality of research publications. Per capita expenditure on research and development has also increased with greater participation from the private sector. Participation of women in extramural R&D projects has got almost doubled in last 6 years. India is also actively engaged in emerging technologies such as quantum technologies, artificial intelligence, etc. Our capacity in inclusive and frugal innovation has been recognized globally. Plethora of schemes have been implemented by the central and the state governments to support and stimulate research culture and creative thinking among students and young researchers. States are currently playing a significant role in R&D expenditure in science and technology innovation. However, there remains a scope to improve all aspects of STI through increased center state engagement. The fifth National STI Policy of 2020 aims to become a profound, inclusive, and dynamic policy that catalyzes the growth of the STI ecosystem. The policy making process is driven by nearly 300 consultations as part of four interrelated tracks where, wherein more than 30,000 experts and other stakeholders participated. The process aims to define priority issues for the national STI ecosystem, recommendations with aligned implementation strategies, expected deliverables, and a rigorous monitoring mechanism. Through extensive deliberations, the Science, Technology, Innovation Policy 2020 proposes to set up an institutional mechanism for building center state STI partnership. The broader objective is to create pathways to successfully percolate the policy instrument to the grassroots levels. There is a need to identify national priorities that are driven by the needs of the states. Through development of formal linkages, we hope to carry out continuous highest level engagements, extensive capacity building exercises, technology development support programs, and other related activities. This would also help in streamlining resource mobilization to avoid duplicacy of efforts within the ecosystem, thereby leading to exponential growth. This engagement is imperative at both the policy making and implementation processes and is achievable through greater communication and collaboration between the center and states. I invite each one of you to join us in this national policy building exercise. The Department of Science and Technology has already reached out to states seeking their inputs for the policy. I encourage you to aid the evidence driven policy process by sharing the details of ongoing science and technology initiatives along with data pertaining to science, technology, innovation. Intra-state consultations will play a key role in providing valuable inputs for the policy, and the Department of Science and Technology looks forward to facilitating them. These center-state engagements will chart the way for creating a robust bottom-up and inclusive policy that shapes the new India of our Prime Minister's dream. Let me assure you, the interaction today is not going to be merely a ritual. Through the institutional mechanism that we propose to set up, I will have direct dialogue with all state science and technology ministers to discuss and deliberate issues of mutual interest and importance on science, technology, and innovation areas. Finally, I must thank you once again and welcome everybody for joining today's meeting. I look forward to receiving your valuable suggestions and inputs for the proposed science, technology, innovation policy and hope that the deliberations today would be fruitful and rewarding. So I have to thank you for all these valuable suggestions, and I would request that all the ministers and all those who could not speak here at this forum, all our senior officers from state governments, I would request that you please pen down your suggestions and also simultaneously send them to us. And I assure you that each and every point that has been made by anyone in this meeting shall be taken care of, and we will ensure that when the new Science and Technology Policy 2020 sees the light of the day, we have all these good suggestions incorporated in the new Science and Technology Policy. You see, I wish we had the time to discuss, in fact, and elaborate, and I had the opportunity to actually comment on some of the great suggestions that have been given by the honorable ministers. But as I said, I promise we'll really consider them with a very, very diligent approach. And I'm happy that there has been a participation of quite a good number of science and technology ministers in this particular forum. As I had said in my opening remarks, that this policy is going to be very, very thoroughly inclusive, and we are connecting even with the grassroots to actually develop this policy. I will only share my own personal experience, which I think will probably make you more enthusiastic and energetic about your own ministry. You see, I am a doctor who has been in the field of health for over 4 or 5 decades, and health has been my passion, my life, my dream, and to do everything about health. But I now, after having been the science and technology minister of the country for last 6 years, I joined with the blessing of the prime minister this ministry in November 2014, and since then I have been working in this ministry. I feel that this has been the greatest blessing of the prime minister for me, because I had only read the routine science in schools, and then I spent a decade in a medical college. So that was all about medical field. But whatever I could understand about science, and that I could understand only and appreciate that also only after I visited each and every scientific laboratory in the country, at least belonging to the central government, through the domains of DST, biotechnology, and CSIR, and even some of the labs of ISRO also I visited, which actually fall directly under the domain of the Prime Minister. And after having spent almost a full day in each of these laboratories, some of the laboratories I visited once or twice or even thrice also, I can say with utmost confidence, certainty, objectivity, and sincerity, and I can pass on that as an advice to you also, that that has been the greatest learning of my life. That's number one. And after having gone through all this experience, I feel that I am extremely privileged to be a science and technology minister. Because of that, I got this opportunity, and now I can say with utmost confidence that science has immense powers, tremendous powers, and science has the power to change radically everything on this earth. It can, in fact, take care of every problem on the planet Earth, and whether it belongs to the environment, whether it belongs to nature, whether it belongs to human beings, whether it belongs to our suffering of the poor people, whether it belongs to the field of agriculture, energy, water, whatever field you can think of, space, everything has solutions in science. And after having visited those laboratories, I could see with my own eyes that many of these solutions have already been found by the scientists. Now it is only a question of, number one, ensuring that whatever the science has already delivered, we are able to translate it into delivery to the people of India. And for that, we of course have to require the support of the scientific community, the academic community, the industry, the corporate world, and of course all other relevant stakeholders. So and I can also assure you one thing, that after you visit all these laboratories, you develop the greatest amount of respect for the scientific community. You have seen that the Prime Minister at every Indian Science Congress expresses his great amount of satisfaction, happiness, and in fact compliments the scientific community. The other day also at the function organized by the Gates Foundation, when he spoke about many other issues, but he was full of praises for the achievements of the scientific community of India. And then I can tell you one more thing, that Indian science as on today is comparable to the best science in the whole world, anywhere, even in the developed world. And I say that, number one, because the parameters which judge the progress of science in a country, if you assess the country's progress according to those parameters. There is no time to describe those parameters. So we are amongst the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe within the first 10. And whether it's about nanotechnology, science publications, involvement of women, or empowerment of women, or research, or the Shimago ratings for CSIR, everywhere you will find. And that's why you have seen that when we talk about innovations, innovation index and all, it's comparable to so many good innovation indexes of the whole world. And right now the type of you see the innovation ecosystem that has been developed in the country in the last 6 years under Prime Minister Modi, which is after the startup and the stand-up movement that he had in fact launched and advocated. Huge number of startups, huge number of young innovators, huge number of innovators getting their, you see, passion converted into entrepreneurship and finding out solutions, to the extent that we now have innovators, you see, big function where they are asked to stay in Rashtrapati Bhavan for almost 6-7 days. And I have been witness to all these functions with the blessings and the you see, participation of the President of India for all these functions. And it is not only about the parameters. Right now, the type of achievements that we have already got, that we have, you see, scientific collaboration in the whole world with over 80 countries. And out of them, 40-45 countries are like, we have very advanced collaborations. They are countries like US, UK, France, Germany, Israel, South Korea, Australia, many others like that. And when I say that our science is either comparable or in certain aspects even better than the rest of the countries in the world, I say that on the basis of my own personal experience. I had the privilege to have meetings with the scientific community of America in the White House itself. I had the privilege to have it with Israelis, with the South Koreans, with the Britishers, with the Germans, with the French, with many of the developed countries of the whole world. And nowhere on a single instance or at a particular time I have ever felt that our scientists in any way are inferior to the scientists of the most developed nations of the whole world. So I am sharing this with you so that as Science and Technology Minister, you should have a feel that you have probably been bestowed with the greatest blessing by your chief ministers, that you have been given the most important department of the government, which has the potential to change the fortunes of your whole state. You can with total confidence tell everybody in the other departments that if you have a problem, you give it to our scientists and we will be able to find out the solutions. So apart from the fact that I want all of you to contribute to the new science and technology policy, but my personal suggestion and advice to all the science and technology ministers of the country would be that, number one, make it a target that in the next few months, at least begin with a humble, make a humble beginning by visiting every science laboratory, whether it belongs to your state or the central government in your own state. And then you will yourself feel the difference. Then you will yourself feel enjoy the level of confidence that you have now developed. And you will certainly see that many of the problems that you are encountering, you already have a solution in the science laboratory. And if somebody mentioned about the National Innovation Foundation in Ahmedabad, if you go there, you will find there's over 2 lakh innovations made by our own people. Many of the technologies are solving every bit of problem for the farmers, for the laborers, for the poor, for the women. They are already discovered. and you can just pick up the solution and then see how you can actually transfer that technology for the welfare of the people of the country. So this is just I thought I will share my personal this thing. Time doesn't permit to talk too much about this, but lastly, two things I have to say. That last 6 years we have been trying to make science a big movement in the country. And for making that a big movement, a lot of projects and activities have been happening, whether it is for the school children, whether it is for promoting and joining our means they connecting our children with the science laboratories through various programs like Jigyasa and so many others. That Manak scheme where we develop almost 1 million ideas, generate 1 million ideas in the schools for science through our students. But I have to also remind you, last 5 years we have been organizing the India International Science Festival, which we have organized at 5 places all over the country. The last one was in Kolkata. Preceding to that, we did it in Lucknow. Preceding to that, we did it in Chennai. And then preceding to that, we did 2 in Delhi, in IIT Delhi and in NPL. And these are the international science festivals which have attracted the huge number of, you see, budding scientists, young innovators, school children, and everyone across all the spectrums. And they had been huge success. Maybe science festivals of similar nature have not been witnessed anywhere else in the world. And if I say that, it may not be an exaggeration. So continuing with that practice, this year, in spite of the COVID, for which the scientists have already contributed as much as our medical professionals and corona warriors, we are going to do this on a much bigger scale, though not physically, but digitally, where you can also participate with full strength in a much easier manner, but of course scaled up dimension. We are doing it, this India International Science Festival for the 6th time from 22nd December to 25th December. 22nd December happens to be the birthday of the great Ramanujanji, and the 25th December, you know, is the birthday of our great former Prime Minister of India, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who is close to everybody's heart in this country. So my appeal would be that right now we will start communicating with the states, and you make preparations so that the science in your state can become a movement. And this COVID has, in a way, COVID is proving to be a blessing in disguise, that without spending too much of money and too much of logistics and too much of, you see, things that have to be arranged through virtual activity, we can communicate and connect in a bigger dimension. And finally, a request that our Department of Science and Technology is, you see, we have a 24 hours digital science channel, which most of you may not be knowing. And if you just go in the app store of your phone, and if you start with with yourself, and then ensure that everyone across all spectrums in their phones can, if they can download this app about India science. You have to just, in the app store, you have to just type India science, and you get access to a science channel, digital, which works 24 hours a day, and which is a creation of our Science and Technology Ministry at the national level. You will really enjoy. You will really enjoy, and you will like to see that channel whenever you have time, and then you will also wish to promote it within your own state. And then once we are on a sound footing as far as our connect with the states is enforced, we will see and ensure that some of the good things that the states are doing, we can make them a part of the India Science channel digitally, so that the achievements of not only the national level activities are shown and shared with the people of India, but also what good things are being done at the state level, they are also shared with the people of India. And finally, I have to say one more thing, that we have a very robust national ecosystem, innovation ecosystem at the central level. Some of the states are also in the process of developing, some have already developed, some may have a weak system, but at the central level we are willing to help all of you, and you can pose your problems with the central laboratories also, visit them, and we will see that we help you to the best possible extent in solving your problems through science and making your contribution to the development of a science movement in the country very, very historic. So with these few words, I once again from the core of my heart express my greatest gratitude to all of you, and also thank the organizers of this meeting, my colleagues in the Ministry of Science and Technology. All my regards to all my dear ministers, and of course all my apologies to all the officers in the various science ministries who could not be given the time to present their viewpoint here. But we would welcome your writing all your suggestions to us, and we'll make them a part of the STI policy 2020. Thank you so much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.